Never paid much attention to it until in the last few months, and all of a sudden it hit me. It represented oppression and slavery. And those that their ancestors, I understand how some of those felt, their ancestors fought, but what were they really fighting for? They were fighting to keep us in slavery. And I don't call that a hero. Somebody that fights to oppress people. We can't erect a statue of somebody that was fighting to keep us in bondage. So I say to you tonight that this is not a political issue. Somehow folks have made this a political issue. I say the last one, and I'll say it again. This is a moral issue.
Confederate monuments never had the best interests of black people at heart. And for those who say, well, it never bothered any black folks prior to that, well, probably because they were scared to speak out and scared to protest for fear of being killed, i.e. Jim Crow era, i.e. Civil Rights Movement, i.e. when Martin Luther King marched, he was beaten in his head. The Confederate monuments have no place here in Caroline County, and if you can't understand the psychological impacts, the trauma that African Americans have to face for centuries upon centuries, it does not make any sense to me that you can't understand that but want to sit here and be one Caroline and be one brother and sister with one another. My community is hurting. We don't want to see it. We don't want to see nothing involved with Confederacy, the slavery, anything of that nature. It does not belong here, and you need to remove it.
Most Confederate soldiers were forced or had no choice to choose a side. It was a political gamut. You had a political party who endorsed the slavery. I can tell you as a veteran, there's a lot of places I went, I didn't want to go. I didn't believe in the cause, but I was fighting for my country. I was fighting for my township. I was fighting for my family. And if, God forbid, I was on the Civil War field and I died serving my country, and then I come back and hear that 6 people decided to remove my honor, I'm sorry. Unacceptable. This board made a huge, bad decision on the 11th. We are a democratic society. And for you not to allow each and every single individual in this county to express their point of view by matter of vote is a disgrace. That's not the way this country was formed. That's not the way our Constitution was written. You put yourself in a position, you're in a no-win position. There are going to be no winners tonight. And you're the fault of it.
Over the past few months, we as global citizens have lived through the COVID pandemic that has affected each of us in a unique way. As an African American, I've lived through the pandemic of racism and injustice for my entire life. No matter where I have lived, attended school, or worked, I have encountered symbols of a time that represents the oppression of Black and brown people in America. As a newer resident, I can say so far that I enjoy living in Caroline County. The neighbors I live beside are kind, they're compassionate, and they care about one another. So it is time to make sure the symbols and ideals presented to those living or visiting Caroline County reflect the positive experiences that many of us have on a daily basis. Nowhere else in the world, outside of maybe North Korea, do we see statues erected in honor of those who have historically suppressed the rights and liberties of other human beings. We don't see statues of Nazis in Germany. There are no statues of Saddam Hussein remaining in Iraq. Why? Because they have all been removed. It was the right thing to do. You may say Germany and Iraq are in America, and that's correct. But here in America, there are no John Wilkes Booth statues honoring the killer of Abraham Lincoln or Lee Harvey Oswald bust honoring the killer of President John F. Kennedy. Why? Because they were not good people and they stood on the wrong side of history. This Confederate statue represents the wrong side of history and the ugly stain of slavery in our country. Now I'm sure there were good-hearted people that fought for the Confederacy. Some of them for no other reason than at that time they were the eligible male in their family and they had to stand for protecting their land. However, there are innumerable soldiers from numerous wars we can choose to honor and remember. However, we are currently choosing to honor the Confederacy. Many people have discussed using monuments as tools for learning. Well, as a former teacher, I can confidently say we can learn without local reminders. We don't have volcanoes here in Virginia, but I always found a way to teach my students and help them learn about them without having them right here in their faces. The entire discussion is about a statue with no name, a statue erected to honor soldiers that fought in a war that stood for antiquated and bigoted ideals. We as a nation can remember and learn about the Civil War, but we don't need a statue to do that. We also don't need symbols of the side that lost. To simplify it to a basic level, we don't host parades for losers of the Super Bowl or the World Series. We can acknowledge their hard work and efforts, but we don't celebrate them. If we truly want to be one Caroline, let's not let this statue keep us divided. I believe that it is time for us to move forward towards being the place of unity, camaraderie, and a place that makes each and every one of us feel welcome in Caroline. In order to do that, I ask you to vote to move forward with the removal of the statue.
I serve as teacher and head football coach at Caroline High School. I'm asking that you vote to remove the Confederate monument in front of the Bowling Green Courthouse. It is my opinion that the location of this statue is not appropriate. I believe that the institutions where we uphold the laws of our democracy, i.e. a courthouse, must be held to the highest standards of ensuring equality for all served. A symbol of white supremacy erected during the Jim Crow era is not appropriate in front of a courthouse that's supposed to serve all our residents. The Confederate States were united in their desire to keep and enforce slavery, period. Do you want to support that tacitly or otherwise? Furthermore, this statue was erected during the Jim Crow era, an era where people of color were subjugated to an ugly chapter of de jure segregation, an era when men of color who had been constitutionally guaranteed the right to vote saw that right challenged with unconstitutional attempts to silence their voices. If we as a county do not act to remove this symbol, we are essentially endorsing both the evil of slavery and the Jim Crow segregation. Justice for all and endorsement of racial supremacy cannot coexist, period. You can't have justice and endorse white supremacy. For those that fear that the removal of this statue would somehow erase an era of history, I ask that you consider moving the statue to a museum. It is my hope that we all continue to listen to each other and learn how to make our democracy inclusive for all. I hope that we do a better job to live up to our commitment that we are founded on, that all men are created equal. I wrote those down, but I want to speak from the heart for the last minute. I have a degree in history. I'm proud of the fact that I graduated from Randolph-Macon. I didn't get that degree by staring at statues. Statues don't teach you history. They honor things. And a statue that honors an evil institution in which anyone feels uncomfortable is not appropriate. It's not appropriate for anyone to not feel comfortable in front of their courthouse. If that hurts to hear it, perhaps you're defensive, perhaps you feel that you're under attack. You're not. I got my privilege challenged and I had to check my privilege at the door. Last, I grew up half my life in Germany. I know who Hitler was. There's not a swastika allowed to fly in Germany. There are no Nazi statues in Germany. The only place I saw them were in the museums where they belong.
Of all of the issues facing our county residents right now, poverty, teen pregnancy rate, school funding, COVID-19, this is what we should be spending time and money on? Is this the issue that defines our community right now? Don't get me wrong, given today's climate, I wish this monument wasn't sitting right in front of the courthouse. But is destroying this statue or others going to fix what's wrong in our community? I wish it was that simple. When is racism going to end? When we stop talking about it and picking at it all the time?